Good afternoon. How's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to a Monday. Start of the work week here is upon us. It is July 7th, 2025, 12:17 p.m. California time here. Latest activity shows a 1.2 across California. A little bit of larger movement happening down here across New Zealand this morning. Check out this 6.3 earthquake. About 6 hours or so ago. Of course, I was sleeping that early in the morning. Pretty decent sized earthquake just off of the plate boundary here, just off the southern tip there of New Zealand, South Island, New Zealand. That's 6.3, 13 miles deep. Now, that earthquake is in the mix of some previous earthquake here this year. Earlier this year, we've seen a 6.7 a little bit further up the line, and a more recent, previous to the 6.3, 6.2 a little bit further down south. So this area definitely on the move here in the last few months. The only concerning thing here is the potential upstream here across the South Island area with the Alpine fault here, directly in the strain area. Got a lot of movement up north recently here, a lot of movement down south, not so much here, but there was one earthquake out here, southern end of the Alpine fault, back in June for a 4.6. So kind of watching this area closely here. It does have some potential here for some large damaging earthquakes, and of course a lot of time has passed here since we've had any sufficient rupture there on the Alpine fault. So just watch that closely. That 6.3, no tsunami for that. It is in a zone obviously that gets quite a bit of earthquake activity, but regions upstream here across the Alpine fault, more specifically across this region, is very well primed for some large earthquake activity. So watch that closely down there across New Zealand. Looks like there's a 4.2 in there as well, a little aftershock. Some deeper renewed activity up here across the Fiji area. That's going to be into the Tonga Trench. Pretty deep earthquake there. As far as Japan goes, let's go ahead and see what we got going on here. Some newer deep activity there across the Izu Trench. That's going to be this earthquake right here. 4.0 this morning, 264 miles deep. That should amplify the conditions out here, although this was about 5 hours ago. I'll have to take a look and see if things have ramped up out here. I don't see anything really above the 4.5 level. From the USGS here. Excuse me, they're only showing one earthquake from yesterday, so let's go double check the Japan Meteorological Agency, see what's going on here for the most recent data. Looks like a 3.2 just about an hour or so ago. It's one of the latest quakes there in the area of that ongoing earthquake swarm there off the Nankai Trough. Overnight, a little spotty. Dropping it down, it looks like, to a couple earthquakes per hour. The majority of these here in the 2 and 1 range. There's another 4.1 early this morning. So just kind of watching that. It definitely has tapered off since yesterday. But I don't think we're over with that yet. And the reason why I say that is because, for one, you got this newer activity here across the Izu Trench, deeper earthquake activity. That should further increase the strain across this region here. It's just a general plate motion here of the Pacific plate interacting with the Filipino plate here that puts a major strain here across this area. Some movement up north here towards the southern end and the northern end here of the Japan Trench, southern end of the Kuril-Kamchatka here. 2 4-pointers, one late last night and one early this morning there. So things are still elevated out here. Just because we got a temporary pause on this area right here where the earthquake swarm's going on, well, that's, it's just, it seems to happen here. We had a pause a couple days ago, and then it kicked back up again. So watch this area closely. From what I hear, we've had well over 1,300 earthquakes in the last couple weeks here. That's, it's a lot of movement. The USGS showing, let's see what these guys are showing in this swarm, and that's a lot for the USGS here to show. 89 earthquakes of various magnitudes. The largest one so far in that sequence of events of 5.6. Number of 5s in there, but again, we could have 200 or 300 5.0 earthquakes in here, and it's really not going to do anything far as relieving strain, say compared to an 8.0 when it comes to the mathematics and whatnot, you would have to have 32,000 5.0 earthquakes to be the equivalent of one 8.0 magnitude earthquake. So nothing's going on as far as relieving strain. If anything, this is just a sign of increasing strain out there in the area, resulting in further earthquake movement. But again, watching that closely, there's some further activity there across Taiwan area this morning as well. That's a 4.4. So maybe this should stir up a little bit later on throughout the day today. We'll definitely watch that. I had to reset all these seismograph stations here because the whole computer shut down. But I do have this station right here, the Kagoshima seismograph station there. That's very close to the earthquake swarm that's ongoing there in Japan. This one went offline for some reason again, but yeah, so also some volcano activity there across the Indonesia area recently, indicating big time pressurization event in this general area. I've noted that here in several of my videos. A lot of increasing earthquakes here in the area. Today, as I noted here on the 6.3 and some other earthquake activity, we're getting a little bit of shifting and adjustment down south here, but that's what we've seen last time here before it began to pick back up here across the northern area up around Japan. So we'll watch that closely today. Alaska, there's that 4.2. I think that's from last night. Actually, USGS, they're reporting that as a 3.9. Yeah, EMSC reporting that as a 4.2. Well, no, let's see here. That's not even anywhere near that 3.9. Is this off here? Huh. See, that 3.9 looks like, well, I guess that's right. Yeah, I take that back. That's not way up north. That's literally on the Denali fault. Fairly lengthy fault system that's showing some activity here today with the 3.9, 3 o'clock this morning here. That's a very dangerous system that sits up there. Of course, the Aleutian Trench here, a big player as well, producing some mega quake activity. It can get it done. It can easily produce 9-pointers. Let's take a look here at Pacific Northwest here. One earthquake from yesterday. I believe that, yep, that's from yesterday, 2.1. Nothing going on here across the Cascadia for now. Awfully quiet. Northern California here. A couple earthquakes there along the Coast Range. This is the Clear Lake volcanic field. These are geothermal plants. If you zoom in into any satellite imagery here, you'll see a number of the satellite photos showing those geothermal fields. I went down there a couple years ago to investigate that big swarm that they're having. But back then they were having a couple of 4-pointers each day. And but for the most part, these are generally small earthquakes. See what we got for the largest here. Mostly, they're all below 2.0. But there's a number of them out there. I remember driving down here and everything's secured. There's a secured perimeter and a gate, guarded security guard before you can even attempt to drive in there. It's pretty crazy. But geothermal fields out there producing some earthquake activity there. One earthquake away from that zone, little 1.2. There's an earthquake near the Sacramento River from yesterday. Nothing new to report there. The Bay Area, pretty quiet. A couple smaller earthquakes there on the southern end of the Calaveras Fault Zone. Southern California, see what we got here. A number of earthquakes down here, extreme Southern California. The latest one off, well, that's one of the largest ones offshore, about 3 o'clock this morning for a 3.3. That is on the San Clemente Fault Zone. Quite a few fault systems offshore here. The latest quake, though, shows a 2.6 across the southern end of the Elsinore Fault. So it does look like we're getting some adjustment going on here across the extreme southern end of the state of California. Not a whole lot going on there across the San Andreas Fault. There's two, maybe there's a little bit more hiding underneath there. Maybe a little swarm going on there, it looks like, in the 1 magnitude range overnight. That is just off the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault. Another earthquake up here in that land south of the Garlock Fault shear zone, east here of the plate boundary on the North American side of 1.9. Looks like things may be starting to kick back up out here across Southern California. Yesterday, we've seen a number of quakes down there across the Baja area. And within the Gulf here, it's just a little active, so it looks like maybe things are working its way up northward, or maybe getting into a point here where we could be seeing things die off here across the western Pacific, and then things start to kick back up here across the eastern areas. That includes the west coast. It just always seems to happen that way. When things are really active out here, things are a little bit less active out here, and they've been showing. With the ongoing earthquake swarm there across Japan and a bunch of earthquake activity out here in this zone, things have been relatively quiet out there across the west coast. So maybe flip-flopping here with that little teeter-totter effect. We'll watch that, though, throughout the day, see how things progress. Up into Montana, a couple smaller earthquakes outside of Yellowstone, and over into Idaho. Really nothing big going on. One recorded earthquake, looks like in Yellowstone this morning, but that doesn't look like anything of noteworthy value. Let's check this and see what we have. Station's still offline or malfunctioning. Not a whole lot of earthquake activity here, folks. There's really not. If you guys see these darker blue lines showing up during the afternoon or overnight hours, those are generally thunderstorms that are popping up in the area, or some wind events. That's not magma movement. If you think about it, if there was indeed magma movement going on that would show up across the entire park like that, we would see resulting earthquake fractures there, right? Because of that magma movement, but it's not. You know, I know some channels here like to fearmonger that, but that's wind or some thunderstorms out there. I do like to verify it when it happens, and it's been spot on. All right, Texas area, a lot of earthquake activity out here. Although it looks like a split bag from yesterday and today, that is associated with all the oil fields out there. New Madrid seismic zone, one earthquake there this morning, a little 1.2. It's been, it's been a little quiet out here, I'd say, in the last week across this area. And, it's definitely been showing over here, though, as far as the elevated activity. Be interesting to see how that plays out today. Let's see what else we got. Fairly minimal conditions out there across the Mexico area southward. South America, got a number of newer quakes out there. Peru area and also into the Peru-Chile Trench, some deeper activity showing up there, but that's pretty much common on any given day. I don't see any large earthquake activity out there for now, somewhat just average. The Atlantic Ocean, pretty quiet. Up north, it looks like we're getting a little swarm of activity there around Iceland. So let's go check out Iceland, see what's going on out there today. It's been definitely been a number of days since I've checked out the Iceland earthquake activity. Ooh, yeah, we got a really decent swarm here across this rift boundary. A number of earthquakes out there. Got, at least in the last 16 hours, 205 recorded earthquakes. Some kicking up here across the Svartsengi area around Grindavik as well. So let's see if we can find our Iceland news agency here. See if there's anything new going on that they're putting out as far as articles go. This is put out July 1st, so there's nothing new. Just talking about the continued uplift there in the Svartsengi area, and the uplift is in regards to, well, the inflation down below, right? So we got to check the Svartsengi inflation charts, and still going up here. I know we had that little migrational movement and a small eruption a number of months ago, but we are going up and up and up, and could see another eruption somewhere out there. Have to watch that, see if it doesn't migrate somewhere else, but it's going up. This is a vertical displacement right here across the Svartsengi area of Iceland. Some larger movement out here across the Mediterranean as well. Looks like around Crete. 5-pointer showing up. See what we got here on the map. There's that 5-pointer. Off of the plate boundary. Previous to that, low 4.5. Kind of curious to see if anything's stirred up out there across the Svartsengi region. Let's see here. I got lots and lots and lots and lots of bookmarks. All geology, space weather, Earth related. Here's the Svartsengi, or the Santorini area, where we've had that decent earthquake swarm there a couple months back. Looks like we got about 105. That's a little increase there in earthquake activity across the Santorini volcano. That one earthquake there of 5 magnitude is down here across that little trench zone. Kind of curious to see what the seismograph station out here looks like. Let's see, what did I do with it right here? If it's working, there we go. Got to go to current time period. That's going to be right there. There's the, I believe that's that 5-pointer that showed up there a couple hours ago. There in the Crete area. That would make sense because that was literally at 10:46 my time, so just a couple hours ago. Aside from that, a couple smaller quakes out there being recorded. Excuse me. Goodness. It's a Monday, can you tell? It's definitely a Monday. But nothing big, nothing major happening out there for now across the Svartsengi, or the Santorini area. Got the Svartsengi area on my mind. A bunch of 2s out there, it looks like. Further west here along that plate boundary. Andaman Sea area getting a little bit of migrational movement here this morning, or actually overnight it looks like. Let's see what we got going on. One of the latest quakes, 5.1. That is north of our swarming area. We've had a really distinct swarm of earthquakes here in the last week as well, just off the coast of Sumatra. That looks like it is starting to work its way northward here into the Andaman Sea area. This area can see some big earthquake activity. But it is showing on the earthquake 3D globe there, getting that migrational fashion of quakes up north. Of course, New Zealand rocking down there. I'm kind of curious to see what they reported that earthquake as. Go over here to the GeoNet servers real quick. 4.3 down there across that area, 4.8. They're reporting that as a 6.0. That's interesting because the USGS showing that as a 6.3. All right. Either way, there's been a number of earthquakes there, it looks like. Some stretching up towards the Alpine fault here. Got to watch that pretty closely. That 5.1 was from last month. Pretty absent of earthquake activity out here, but eventually that's going to move. Watch that closely. And I think I fixed the seismograph stations out here. I just went in and deleted the temporary files here for the for this program I use, and they've been working consistently, so that's good. They're not going off and then staying off for a minute and then coming back on, so I'm hoping that worked. Let's check out space weather activity. Wow, whoop-de-doo. I got a C 2.2 coming in off of a far side sunspot. This is the area I mentioned here last night. Said to keep an eye on because it would be, creeping around the corner here, so to speak. It is producing some sea flare activity. That's that flare that you see right there on the far eastern limb of the sun. That, let's see if we got a view of it yet. It may be right here, not this area, but back over here, just barely visible. So we'll have to wait until that comes into a little bit more Earth-directed view to see if that's got, anything complex going on with the magnetic structure. But it is popping off a sea flare that's raising up a little bit there into the Earth-directed view, but the sunspot itself is still back around. So we'll watch that, see if things don't start to ramp up. As you can see, the flare threat out there fairly minimal for now. No major roars in the forecast. Take a look here at the next close approach asteroids here to the planet. Let's see here. Anything major? No doom and gloom on the menu for now, folks. This is all fairly safe. They're millions of miles away for now. All right, Storm Prediction Center for severe weather got an enhanced zone out here across a portion of South Dakota, stretching into Well, northeastern Colorado, it looks like. Got some tornado potential, a little bit of wind. I'd say a lot of wind. Looks like some damaging wind gusts out there in the hatch zone, along with the 30% zone. That can produce some 65 knots or greater within 25 miles of a point. Some big-time gusts, hail in there as well. Hot and dry out here across California right now. Speaking of that, let's go check out the fire conditions. I'm thinking that big one down south is continuing to burn. Of course, I say south here because I'm in Northern California. We do have one up here in the mountains, and it's very rugged, steep terrain. This thing just, if we get a big wind event, man, it's going to completely destroy this forested area up here. What do we got down here? I'm sure there's several campgrounds out here, but no major communities within reach right now. But that's a big one. Look at this hotspot being picked up here on the satellite-based imagery. All around it. So I'm not for sure why this has no containment. Yeah, it's in a whole bunch of heavy brush and trees, and not good. That is not good. I'm hoping they get a handle on that, because that's definitely some forested areas with potential to get, out of hand and into some communities if it goes that far. I don't see any cameras. Well, this one's pointing that way. It's kind of from a distance, so. Anyway, that's a green fire. Another one back over here. The Helena fire. Looks like this one, though, is getting some containment. I don't see a whole lot of hot spots on it being picked up. That's good. 30% containment. Got some up in Oregon as well. The big one down south here, look at this. The Madre fire. Hot spots mainly down south here. There's a little bit being picked up. Of course, that would make sense here with the general wind flow. That's at, let's see what we got here for containment. 30% containment. 80,000 acres burned. Yeah, look. I mean, it looks like they're getting a handle on it for the most part. Hopefully nothing else starts down there. Getting deeper into fire season here. I don't like that word, fire season. It never used to be like that. There never was a fire season. But definitely taking off up here across Northern California. I'm safe out here around Chico here for now. Sacramento Valley normally isn't going to get fires out here. There's a lot of agricultural land and a lot of rice fields. That's why it's green out here. A lot of rice fields and whatnot. But anyway, all right. What else we got here, folks? Seismograph stations out there look pretty quiet for now. Keep an eye there on Japan. Like I say, it could go either way today. We could see things really ramp up across Japan, or may see a little pause out here with the West Coast starting to ramp up. But we'll see what happens. Of course, we'll keep the live stream up and running. Live stream went down. Like I said, the whole computer shut down just like an hour or so ago. I was outside of the computer room, so I don't know exactly what took place. But it happens on occasion. That last live stream was running for almost 400 hours, so that's a good amount of time. And hopefully it holds up here again. If it goes down for some reason, I'll just fire it back up. That's what I've been doing here for a number of years. Things, a little fishy, but it happens. All right, have a good one. Again, live stream is up and running. Let me double check that, make sure everything's good on that. I believe it is. Yes, we're running good. Hello, everyone. Hurricane Heather, Haley. Too numerous out here to read, but good day to everyone. Stay safe, and we'll catch you guys out here a little bit later on.